live. Want to let you know what's going to be on the show today. So we're going to talk with Steve Helwagen of Bucknuts 24/7 Sports. We're going to talk about the Guardians and the gambling scandal that's going on. And my life as a Cleveland fan is just falling apart. But it is what it is. But we're also going to be all over the map. And I'm sorry, my chair keeps on falling on me here. So I went from like 6 foot to about 4 foot there. But anyways, we're going to be all over the board today. Happy Gilmore too, all kinds of other stuff. So we're going to talk about that all. But before we do, let's bring on our special guest. Let's bring on Steve Helwagen from Columbus. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great. What's going on?
Not much. Not much. We appreciate you joining us. And we know you were fresh off of a trip out west to Vegas. So what was that like, with the media days out in Vegas this year?
Yeah, it was a little bit different. Obviously, we're used to with the football having it in Chicago and Indianapolis. And Indianapolis really in recent years, because that's the site of the Big Ten championship game, they've always had it at Lucas Oil Stadium there. And it was a great location for it. So because they added the 4 West Coast teams, they decided to throw them a bone and have it in Las Vegas. And of course, everybody loves a free trip to Las Vegas. And the neat thing of it was it was at Mandalay Bay, and it was in the convention center there. And we stayed for 3 days. They had 6 schools per day, and Ohio State was the first day. And then Michigan, USC, and UCLA were the third day. Oregon and Penn State were the second day. So everything was kind of spread out over the 3 days. And we got to talk to a lot of the coaches and players from each of these schools. And, whereas in Chicago and Indianapolis, at least at the hotel where you're going, they make a big deal about it. There wasn't one sign at Mandalay Bay, not one sign at the airport, nothing about welcoming the Big Ten to Las Vegas. And, it's not a Big Ten state or a Big Ten city, but still a destination, I guess. And that was worth it. I could see doing that again. It was actually a lot of fun. And, it is a little bit longer to try and get there. For me, it's a 2.5-hour drive to Indianapolis as opposed to about a 4-hour flight out to Vegas. But, and nobody's in Vegas. It's during the summer just because it's so hot. It's close to 100 degrees every day. So it's not necessarily a prime destination in July. So I think they're just happy to have some conventions and things in the summer to fill up the rooms.
No doubt. So before we get into Ohio State, Steve, what was maybe the most interesting storyline outside of Ohio State at Big Ten Media Days?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, I mean, there were several. I think Penn State as a favorite is kind of a new proposition for them. They've got to find a way when they have the opportunity against top 5 competition to win those games, something that they really haven't done at all under James Franklin. And, sporadically, maybe like a 2-15 record or something like that. I know Ohio State was pretty highly ranked back in 2016 when they clipped the Buckeyes, but they haven't beaten Ohio State since. What is that, 9 in a row?
Sure.
Buckeyes going for 10 this year back at home. So at some point, Penn State's got to get it done against, they didn't beat Oregon in the Big Ten championship, didn't beat Notre Dame, fell apart at the end in both those games. And they got to find a way to get over the hump. So I think that's one thing, is that Franklin and Penn State are being characterized as the favorite in this thing this year. And it was a close vote by the media. I think 12 first-place votes for Penn State and 11 for Ohio State. So that's probably one thing. I think you got some programs like Nebraska and USC that have been down for a while that are trying to fight to get back into the picture. You got Illinois and Indiana, who both had great seasons last year, trying to stay in the picture. And maybe one of them, Indiana got in the playoff last year, which, I think even Brett Bielema from Illinois referenced that. Illinois being or Indiana being in the first team of the 12-team playoff, first year of it, shows that anybody can get there if you have a great year. And so a lot of talk about the playoff. My God, that kind of overrode the whole thing. And it's this whole Tony Petitti idea of assuring the Big Ten gets 4 spots, teams in the championship game, as well as the winner of a 3-6 game and the winner of a 4-5 game. That's a cockamamie scheme to me. That doesn't make any sense. Why are we invalidating 12 games of work over one afternoon of football when we're trying to find the national champion? That doesn't make any sense to me. All it is creating 2 television slots, for a 3-6 game and a 4-5 game that they can monetize. That's all that is to me. That doesn't mean a thing to me. I asked him, I said, okay, last year, Illinois and Iowa were 5-6. So you want Iowa in the playoff at, 8-4, 9-3, whatever they were. That's really what you want?
Yeah.
If I am, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, and a lot of my viability is tied to making this playoff work, this playoff only works if you have the best 12, 14, or 16 teams and you have competitive games. Last year, we saw teams that didn't belong at the table and they got blown out.
Yep.
And the games didn't draw very good ratings, some of them. And so now you want to put an Iowa that doesn't deserve to be there any more than Buffalo did. And you expect them to be competitive with, whoever's at the top.
Sure.
It doesn't make any sense. It's going to be a non-competitive game. It's not going to draw a rating. And they have no business being in there. Nobody ever said the 6th place team in the Big Ten, you know what, doggone it, for one break, they would have won it all. No one in their right mind has ever said that. So, I get it. He wants a paradigm shift in the sport, and let's not just conceal it down to the top 4 teams that only have a chance. And obviously, the top 4 seeds last year, none of them even made it to the semifinals. They all dropped off. So, it is interesting to think. Of course, 2 of them were what? Arizona State and Boise State. They probably didn't have any business being top 4 seeds to begin with because they weren't among the top 4 teams. But they've at least solved that part of it, that you no longer get an automatic top 4 seed just for winning a conference championship. The best 4 teams will be seeded in the top 4 this year. So those were probably the big buy plays outside of Ohio State that I saw and heard a lot of while we were there.
Okay. Very good. And obviously Ohio State coming off a national championship, just, I guess, real quick, just your memories of that run last December and January, coming off a loss, but obviously making an unbelievable run.
Yeah, Justin, it was crazy. They probably wouldn't have won the national championship if they beat Michigan. When you think about it, I mean, they could have gone and played Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, and who knows how that goes. Although we had an idea, when they played in the Rose Bowl, that Ohio State was ready to go on that day and blew the doors off of Oregon. But, the Tennessee game was kind of a religious experience, I think, for a lot of Ohio State fans, and kind of redemption and the Hallelujah chorus and all these other things that were achieved in that one night game. Ohio State fans have been clamoring for that big night game, and they finally got it in a meaningful situation. And the fans really responded. The team responded. I mean, they're up 21-0 and driving for another touchdown when the first quarter expired, and everybody had to kind of exhale for a second, what an onslaught,
Yep.
So, and they never really let up in the entirety of the playoff. 4 double-digit wins over top 10 teams. That is a record that I don't think anybody's going to be able to replicate or break anytime soon. If they do, then congratulations. You've done an amazing job and an amazing feat. But Ohio State had as good as a run. And really, what did they win? 6 of the last 7 games, or 5 of the last 6 games were against all 6 of them were against top. Well, no, Michigan was not a top 10 team, but Indiana was the week before. So
Sure.
5 of their last 6 games were wins over top 10 teams. So that just says it all right there. But what an amazing run. And Ryan Day found a way to harness the human spirit and got that team focused back in the right direction. And so many great playmakers that'll be missed off this year's team.
Right.
The quarterback, the running backs, all those guys, Emeka Buka, wide receiver. the defensive linemen, all these guys, Cody Simon, all of them, all off that team. But Ohio State's still going to put a team out there this year in 2025. It's only been 6 months since they won that national championship, if you believe it.
That's quite
January
crazy.
20th, and today's July 29th. So 6 months and 9 days since they won the championship, and they start practice for the new season in 2 days.
It's wild. Absolutely wild. And I know you'll be there covering it. And we want to be respectful of your time. So I only want to keep you about 15 minutes, 15 more minutes here at the most. But your biggest question now, Ryan Day said, we're not defending anything. We're that they cannot take that title away from us. We are attacking this new year with a new group of players. Obviously, you're still returning arguably the best 2 players on both sides of the ball in college football. But what are your biggest Ohio State concerns or question as we enter the season?
Well, I think anytime you go into a season and the quarterback situation is not settled, I think that is probably the primary spot. And you could lose 1 or 2 games just because you have an inexperienced quarterback. You get into a tight situation,
sure,
and they throw a bad pick, or they get pressured, or panic, or whatever it might be, just because they haven't got that experience. And you're hoping, at least on offense, that the 10 other guys that are around them who are veteran players, other than James Peoples, maybe at running back, but C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia is going to play there quite a bit as well. The offensive line has gone from a liability to a total strength.
Mm-hmm.
You brought in a tight end, Max Clare from Purdue. You got 2 of the best wide receivers in the country with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. So you've got pieces that you have surrounded the quarterback with. And if those 10 guys just do their job and make life easy for the quarterback, then that player just needs to hand the ball off, make the right read, and decide to run the ball or throw the ball, or, make great decisions in the pass game. And it just really simplifies things for the quarterback if there are no breakdowns around them, if the pass protection is outstanding, if the run blocking is good, and it's now, you get 5 yards on first down and it's 2nd and 5, and you can do anything you want to do in your playbook, and you just move the sticks, and you just move the sticks, and you just move the sticks, and you build that guy's confidence. By mid-season, now you're looking at that guy as a playmaker, and a guy that can be depended upon, and a guy that now has the confidence to go out and do anything you want him to do. So does that mean they're going to piecemeal it against Texas? No. I think what that means is, against Texas, they're going to do whatever it takes to win that game, whatever they have to do, running the ball, throwing the ball, splitting it 50-50, whatever that ratio is. And they're going to need that quarterback to play well beyond his years to win that game. That's just the fact of the matter. And if he doesn't, then they run the risk of losing that game, certainly, because Texas has a very good team. Both teams are going to be in the top 5, if not the top 3, to start the season. Mm-hmm. And, I just look at it that quarterback is obviously an area to lose all 4 of the defensive linemen. I think you feel pretty good at defensive tackle with Caden McDonald and Edric Houston coming back as the backups there. Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry haven't gotten many play snaps at defensive end, not a lot of productivity. Bo Atkinson is a transfer coming in late from North Carolina. He actually went through spring football with North Carolina and Bill Belichick as the head coach, and decided, excuse me, I'm having problems talking today.
Oh, you're fine.
Once that was done, he decided to put his name in the transfer portal. And Ohio State was a school, obviously, that's going to contend for the national championship. He came here to Ohio State, and now we'll see if he can mix things up with that pass rush. He comes in and has immediately got more career sacks and tackles for loss than anybody on the Ohio State roster. So that says a lot right there. Sonny Styles coming back, could be an All-American at linebacker. Caleb Downs coming back at safety. He is an All-American. They're talking about Jermaine Matthews replacing Denzel Burke at cornerback. and that he's that there'll be no let up there. So Davis and Igbinosun's back. So get that front settled, and I think the defense will be pretty good.
So, I mean, there's obviously there was a mass exodus to the NFL. I think 16, 17 guys leave the program, onto greener pastures, if you want to say that, with the NFL. But there's no lack of talent with this team. They are absolutely in reloading mind, not rebuilding. And the expectation at Ohio State is you win every game. So with that said, what are your expectations for the Buckeyes this year? What would you, Steve Helwagen, and I'm going to give you a little feather in your cap here. I believe I heard the other day that you are the second longest tenured Ohio State beat reporter out there behind Tim May.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. Tim was doing it for a few years longer than I was, back to the late 70s, I believe. I think he even talks about being at the Gator Bowl when Woody Hayes punched the Clemson players. So he got a little bit of a head start on me, probably an extra 10 years. But yeah, this will be my 31st season doing this full time. And I think it'll be 37 or 38 for me on Ohio State basketball coming up. So yeah, I've been doing that since 1988, 89. So however that computes, but yeah, it's been a good long run and a lot of fun, and got a few years left in me. But yeah, I think that this team has everything it needs. They've recruited at such a high level that even though there'll be guys that have a limited experience in there, they have guys that are more than capable of getting the job done.
Sure.
So we're going to see this fall how that all unfolds. And I think in the meantime, you rely on proven commodities like Max Clare at tight end and Jeremiah Smith at wide receiver. And we'll see what those guys can really do. You bring in Matt Patricia as the new defensive coordinator. And yet they say that a lot of what Jim Knowles had put in there as the defensive coordinator is going to remain. Obviously, Chip Kelly left to go coach with the Oakland Raiders, or rather the Las Vegas Raiders, I guess. And Brian Hartline is once again the offensive coordinator. So, a little bit of changes there, but I think Ryan Day is comfortable with it. And I think everyone's excited to see where it goes. I think you got to make the playoff. I think it's playoff or bust. I think it's beat Michigan or bust. And I think, get back in the hunt to play in the Big Ten championship game. I think those are obviously the three main goals every season: beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. And they finally were able to tick one of those off after a long hiatus, 3 or 4 years on all of that, back to 2020 last year. So, finally got something done.
Well, I mean, I understand winning the Big Ten, beating Michigan, and winning the national championship are all goals. But if you accomplish that last goal, I think that makes up for the other two goals. That is the ultimate goal.
Overrode the other two, no question.
And there's a lot of people, including myself last year before that Michigan game happened, that said, well, it's you want to beat your rival. That's more important after losing 3 in a row than winning the national title. I throw that completely out the window. As much as I hate Michigan and want to beat them every year, I would take a loss versus Michigan to win the national championship. Sign me up for that. But at the same time, why not do both? Why not do both?
Yeah, I think there'll be a special attention for that game this year. The game's back up in Ann Arbor this year. And you don't know, obviously, what Michigan's going to have. I mean, Underwood, the freshman, is a star coming in to play the quarterback position for them. A little bit of unknown stuff going on there. And if they can be 9-3, 10-2 at the end of the year, maybe they get into the playoff as well. But, it's going to be a fun year. They have to go on the road and play Oklahoma. Ohio State has to play Texas at home. There aren't a lot of great non-conference games involving Big Ten schools. Purdue and USC will both play Notre Dame, which is kind of interesting. But there just aren't a ton of those marquee kind of games. And, yet the Big Ten, when it goes out of conference, like Iowa versus Iowa State and Oregon versus Oklahoma State and some of these others, you've got to go out and win those games. Penn State is actually taking a page out of the Michigan and Ohio State playbook. Michigan won the national championship in 2023. Ohio State won it in 2024. And in those 2 seasons, neither of them played a Power 4 team in the non-conference. Penn State is not playing one either this year. They're playing Nevada, Florida International, and FCS Vanderbilt this year. So, rather, not Vanderbilt.
Oh, Villanova.
Sorry.
No, that's understandable. And I mean, it's a new world of college football, NIL, the college football playoff that's expanding and may continue to expand. So it's a different world and different expectations. I like what Kurt Signetti said. Hey, we're going to go with that SEC model and take a week off here and there and, play a cupcake. But that was pretty good. But Steve, I want to get you out of here on 3 quick questions. All kind of non-Ohio State related, but the first one affects Ohio State in one way or another. You have been outspoken on the Michigan Wolverines and the cheating scandal. I've heard you on the Bucknuts Morning 5 podcast. And I just really am curious what you deem an adequate punishment for Michigan should be, whether that's what it is or not. What if you were the commissioner handing that sentence down? What do you think would be fair?
Well, you go back 15 years and Ohio State had the book thrown at it, for the tattoo gate thing, with a 1-year postseason ban and a little bit of reduction of scholarships and different things. And they had to vacate the 2010 season. When they did win the Big Ten, they did beat Michigan and they beat Arkansas in the Sugar Bowl. They had to vacate all of that. So to me, I start there. I think that they get a 1-year postseason ban, whether it's this year, whether if they wait till after the start of this season and impose it for 2026, whatever it is. And that's unfortunate because it penalizes the kids who really had nothing to do with the teams that got the goodness out of the cheating that happened. It was people talk about it was Spygate or it was stealing signs or whatever. It was in-person scouting. If people would look at it that way, that's the rule that they broke. They sent people into opposing team stadiums to garner information, and it's expressly written in the rule book, you cannot do that. And so they basically, took the sanctity and, the credibility of the competition and they trashed it. I mean, they short-circuited the competition and gained an illegal upper hand, an edge to win many of those games between 2021 and 2023. They were finally caught red-handed middle of the 2023 season. The Big Ten, on just a few days' notice, had to tell Michigan State, watch your ass because Michigan's probably got your signals. And, that came out like Tuesday or Wednesday before the game. Michigan State's like, well, what are we supposed to do?
Right.
This is how we do it. What are we supposed to do? And, Greg Schiano knew at halftime of his game. I'm sitting there watching the halftime of his game, and he's like, something fishy's going on. This doesn't add up. When they were playing Michigan, I mean, everybody remembers that. Mm-hmm. So, they were caught red-handed. So I think postseason ban, they can vacate any games of any teams that they scouted or that they have proof from the ticket receipts, the credit card receipts, any kind of video, notes, whatever they have. It's as obvious as the nose on your face, Justin. That's what they did. They were caught red-handed doing it. They have screamed bloody murder for 2.5 years. Oh, we're the victim here. We're the victim here. It wasn't really any kind of advantage. Well, why'd you do it? Right. There was no real advantage from doing it. Why'd you start doing it? Why'd you keep doing it? For you to tell me that Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, and the defensive coordinator had no idea about it, you're full of crap. Don't go there with that. A low-level recruiting guy is never located next to the coordinator or the head coach on the sideline and telling them what to call. Yep. That's never happened in the history of the sport. So why was it allowed to happen and go on and on and on for parts of 3 seasons?
Yeah.
they got to throw the book at these people. They trifled with the integrity of the game, and that needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with properly. So I say, possibly more of a suspension, because his hands are as dirty as anybody.
Sure.
And then, vacate whatever games you have proof that they scouted somebody ahead of time, and a bowl ban, a postseason ban for an upcoming season.
Very good. Very good. And I see the passion I can hear it in your voice, and I feel the same way. So
think about this. How many coaches lost their jobs because they lost that game? Or had a losing season because of how many kids on the field got injured because somebody knew a running play was coming.
Yeah.
They could tee off on the running back. They didn't have to take 2 steps back and worry about dropping into coverage. Oh, I got to go support the run. No, they were going full bore run stop. I mean, that's how people get injured. And when you know what the play is, that's how people get injured.
Yeah, so when a defender does not have to worry about the pass, or they know it's a pass and don't have to worry about the run and can sell out, that when you take 50% of the possible action off the field, that's a huge advantage. And someone that I think was severely hurt by that was CJ Stroud, especially in that 2022 season. In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give Michigan credit. In the 4-game win streak, the statistics are incredible.
Yeah.
In terms of what they were able to do running the football and stopping the run for Ohio State. So, was there an advantage in 3 of those games? Possibly, at least 2 of them, 21 and 22. By 23, it had been found out, and Ohio State had to go to a different way of doing things. And the game came down to the last 30 seconds, and Kyle McCord threw a, interception, and he and Harrison were off on their connection. But, you want to believe that everything's on the up and up, but I think we've got the proof that it really wasn't. So
no doubt. Well, we'll
now you had 2 other things you were going to ask me.
Two more quick questions.
These answers very quick.
No, you're fine. You're a Cleveland Browns fan. So I want to know, they're going through, obviously they got the 4 quarterback battle with Pickett a little bit dinged up right now, but Pickett, Flacco, and you got the 2 rookies. Who do you think, 2-part question. Who do you think starts the season, and who do you think finishes the season at quarterback for the Browns?
Who was the rookie they took before Sanders?
Dylan Gabriel.
Man, he was awesome in the Oregon-Ohio State game that was played in Eugene. He played one of the best games I've seen an opposing quarterback play against Ohio State's defense. And so, but is he an NFL quarterback? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but he put on a show that day. Pickett, we kind of saw with Pittsburgh, he's not the greatest. Flacco was really doing well for the Browns. What was it, 2 years ago or whatever, but they didn't bring him back, and, whatever. Maybe his window is kind of come and gone, perhaps. Shadur, you hear great things about it, but they are bringing him along very slowly. Yeah. So no one thinks the Browns are going to do anything this year, and maybe they can surprise some people, but I don't have a real good idea. And, they're probably not going to show a whole lot the 2 or 3 preseason games or any of that. So I don't know what to say. I'm up in the air on the whole thing.
That's actually a really good answer, because I don't think anyone knows what the hell they're talking about up in Cleveland either with the quarterbacks outside of Stefanski. So, all right. Final question, and I'm just going to make this super short, because you put out with Patrick Murphy the other day a big podcast on Hulk Hogan. And I am not the expert in wrestling. I watched it occasionally growing up as a kid, but Hulk Hogan for me transcended the sport into pop culture, into everyday life. Pretty much everybody knew who Hulk Hogan was. I just want your real quick thoughts on what Hulk Hogan, whatever anyone thinks of him outside of wrestling, but like as a wrestler and as a sport, what he meant to, I guess, Americana.
Well, you have to separate Hogan, the wrestler, from Terry Bollea, the person who did get caught uttering some racial epithets, and
Yeah.
he's had problems with he was in his third marriage. He was estranged from his kids, so we can say, oh, we love the character, and we have issues with how he led his life.
Sure.
And by all rights, by the end, he supposedly was a born again Christian, and so however that all works out, that's great. But he was the biggest name in pro wrestling for 20 years, from 1980 until about 2000. He was, or maybe even 2002, maybe 82 to 2002 is probably a more proper window. He was the biggest drawing card in all of wrestling for those 2 decades. And he helped Vince McMahon take the World Wrestling Federation from a company that just ran basically from Boston, New York, Philly, and Washington to the entire country, and in some respects, the entire world, Europe, Japan, all these other countries that they would do tours to, was because of Hulk Hogan. He made it a global thing, hosted Saturday Night Live. I mean, in movies and The Tonight Show and different things, he became an entertainer, so beyond wrestling. He was in Rocky III, as people remember, the one with Mr. T fighting Rocky. So again, he helped take it from a regional sport that was, as they said, in poorly lit, smoke-filled arenas to, NBA arenas and baseball stadiums and football stadiums, and made WrestleMania the phenomenon. 40 years of WrestleMania, he was the guy who got that off the ground. So I think, the saying that they have on the cards that he appeared, the other wrestlers would go up to him and say, "Thanks for the house, brother." And I think some of the guys that are still wrestling today owe him a debt of gratitude for making it a lucrative place to earn a living. But so many great moments. I was more of a Ric Flair person, NWA person, than a WWF person. But at the same time, I chronicled all that. I had a newsletter. I wrote about it. And we didn't have the internet in the late 80s, so people wrote newsletters and sent them out in the mail, and you would read about last week's wrestling the following week. I mean, it was crazy the way that news spread back in the 70s and 80s.
That's great. That's great. So I'm going to just go ahead and put the plug out there to go look at the Bucknuts Morning 5 podcast. It's in their recent feed, but if that's something that interests you with Hulk Hogan, go listen to that. It's I think it's about an hour, but you guys did. I listened to a little bit of it, and you guys did a hell of a job with that. So I'm going to put the plug out there, but also make sure to follow Steve and Bucknuts. They do a hell of a job, probably the best out there, covering Ohio State football, basketball, everything, recruiting. So, Steve, we can't thank you enough. You're always very generous with your time. Hopefully later in the season we can have you back. Hopefully we're talking Big Ten championship game with the Buckeyes. So thank you so much. And
all right, Justin, take care.
Take care. Have a great season too. All right, so we want to thank Steve for his time. We appreciate that. He's going to get over to Ohio State football practice starting, I believe, on Thursday. They're kicking off. So we're going to bring in Joe Danier. Joe, you and I haven't done a podcast here in a while, so we're going to get weird. We're going to get a little weird. We're going to talk TV, movies. But before we get into any of that stuff, I do want to get into the Cleveland Guardians and the sports betting stuff that's going on, the scandal. Now, I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to. I'm going to say allegedly a lot, because these guys are innocent until proven guilty, although they look very guilty. Emmanuel Clase is the latest Cleveland Guardians player to be alleged tipping his pitches, or, like maybe the first pitch of an inning, a lot of people can bet on, is it going to be a ball or a strike? And a lot of those were they were non-competitive pitches. They were out of the zone, balls, whatever, for a lot of his stuff. A lot of it looks very fishy after the fact when you look back on it. But I have on good word that Emmanuel Clase was in Youngstown, Ohio, last week visiting an attorney. I don't know who that attorney is. I don't know what law firm that is. It might be bullshit, but it's someone I trust as a source that put that out there. And they said they knew this news last Wednesday before it broke. The Guardians found out on Sunday, and then they announced it yesterday. What do you think of this whole scandal? And I mean, it doesn't look good for the Guardians. What's your thoughts overall on this whole issue?
The slippery slope guy in me
Yeah.
says that if you start like allowing gambling to be part of your sport, that these things are inevitably going to rear their head.
Yes.
If you can make a buck and not change the outcome of the game, it is going to happen.
Now, where do you think the money, the people involved might be? Do you think these are like outside people maybe they got in trouble with, or trying to make a buck off of, or where do you think like this action is coming from?
So
I'm looking up stats, by the way, as you go ahead.
You put yourself in that position, and you are a person who can do something that causes someone else to make money. It's no different than if you win a prize or win a trophy and somebody can bet on it. Like, how many thousand people would line up and say, hey, Justin's the pitcher. And like,
sure,
dude, all I got to do is throw a ball way outside the strike zone.
Yeah.
You make $20,000. Give me 5% of it. How often can you do that and never 100% get caught?
Right. But where these guys might not be too smart is, a lot of these books share servers. They share information with each other. And if illegal, or I shouldn't say illegal, if fishy betting bets come in, there's like, why is there somebody placing $25, $30, $40, $50,000 on an Emmanuel Clase or Luis Ortiz ball out of the strike zone in the third inning against the St. Louis Cardinals? Why, that really raises a red flag.
For sure.
So whoever was doing these bets or placing these bets wasn't very smart about it. Where if you're going to do it, maybe you want to slow play it a little bit.
For sure.
Make your money over time.
Or at least know what the threshold is where the algorithm pays attention to what constitutes a red flag.
Sure. And I want to point, I'm going to go conspiracy theory here a little bit. So Emmanuel Clase, now I'm just going to go off his stats last regular season. Last regular season, he was on pace, arguably as the best closer of all time in a single season. So last regular season, 2024, he had a 4-2 record with an ERA of 0.61. 66 strikeouts, a whip, which a whip means walks and hits per inning pitched, of 0.66. So that means every 3 innings, 2 guys get on base. That's it. And 47 saves in 74 appearances. In the playoffs, he had a record of 0-2. Now you're playing better teams, but you had a record of 0-2 with an ERA of 9, only 8 strikeouts, and 2 saves in 7 appearances. I have heard that there's potential that this could have gone back to Now, I'm not saying he was throwing these games or anything like that, but I'm saying things started to get a little fishy towards the end of last season. Now, the Guardians were, 3 wins away from becoming a World Series team last year. Now you lose arguably your closer and maybe your second or third starting pitcher, maybe forever. These guys might not, play another pitch, pitch another pitch in the major leagues, not just with Cleveland, but with ever. So what percentage would you put on this as being they're guilty?
75% chance.
I'm in that ballpark too. I'm thinking it's as high as like 90%.
Yeah.
This looks really bad. And I believe Clase has kind of just basically effed over the Guardians for the next 3 to 4, 5, 6 years. This is a franchise that cannot miss. There's also some speculation on the internet of like, remember Shohei Ohtani, who's like arguably baseball's best player? He got his one of his interpreters got in trouble last year, but it was money from his account. So it's almost like Major League Baseball was kind of covering up for their superstar, but they're like, the Cleveland guys, whatever, the small market team, no one's going to miss them. So any conspiracy theory in that?
Well, if you look at baseball for its entirety, it sort of like overlapped the mafia and running numbers. Like, I'm Sonny Black today, right? And so those guys are really good at calculating what was going to happen and also impacting the game. How many people that we never knew got a couple of $10,000 here and there to do something in a game that would result in somebody making some money?
That's true.
So this is probably a century-old phenomenon where sports equals somebody makes out on the gambling side of things.
Yeah, and if you go all the way back, like 105 years ago, 106 years ago, to the 1919, like the Black Sox scandal, that was like thrown out there because like these guys weren't getting paid enough and the owners were cheap and stuff like that. Now, Clase was still making over $5 million a year. Ortiz was making, a couple $1 million. That is very livable money in this day and age. It's not like going back in the day when these guys are making, 10, 12 bucks a game or whatever they would make, and then they'd have to work jobs in the off season. Like, these guys are being paid livable. Well, I don't want to even say livable wages. That's insulting to like the regular average person, but like they're making very good money. You're living in an affordable city. Like I know everybody that has money wants more money, but it's like, I don't want to hear like, oh, the owners are cheap or, the managers doing this and that. The owners and the managers have nothing to do with this. The players know in their locker room, there is express written rules in Spanish and in English of what you can and cannot do. And these guys knew better. And if they did this, F them, because they have screwed over not just the organization, but the fans. And at the end of the day, you're nothing without your fans. So,
well, I don't think it's them per se. Like, when you make your ascension through the ranks, you have people that you're beholden to that helped you get there. And all those people ask favors for you along the way. I don't care if it's politics or sports or whatever. So there might be, 100 people that come to you once you make it to say, do me a favor, kid. And then you're like, shit, like he introduced me to that guy, or he put me on the field when I didn't deserve it. And so you're paying back all these favors for the rest of your career. I bet you if you look at his balance sheet, what he made from those decisions are nothing, but everybody surrounding him made money off of that decision.
Okay. Interesting. But either way, it's a black eye for Major League Baseball too. I've I even put out there like, the Cleveland Gamblers. That might be, Trump wanted them changed back to the Indians last week. A lot of people don't like the Guardians name. Hey, why don't we go with the Gamblers now? It's a new nickname. Let's just make it.
So what would be worse if you had a player that was doing like performance enhancing drugs or whatever for the game versus gambling on it and changing their decisions for the bettors on their corner?
Question. Yeah.
Which is worse?
Well, I mean, I think Major League Baseball has, or at least over time, has given us that answer. Is like, betting on baseball is worse. Look at the Black Sox. They were banned. Look at Pete Rose. He was banned. Not eligible for the Hall of Fame. And I know these guys with like, your Barry Bonds, your Mark McGuire's, your Sammy Sosa's, those guys are not in the Hall of Fame, but they were allowed to continue playing their whole career with like, maybe an asterisk or whatever, or maybe the thought of, oh, well, these guys are cheating the game. Well, they're the guys that, got caught again, but they are. That's a really good question. Now that I'm like going deep into that. One
on top of it. So, do you think baseball is the purest sport where it's hardest to skew or change the outcome of a game based on betting odds or whatever? Like, think WWE, where it's all orchestrated, the outcome's known, whatever, and it's just for spectacle, for fan enjoyment.
Yeah, right.
Baseball's harder to do on that, where you really can't, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows how the game's going to end.
Sure.
But what if you found out that a lot of the play on the field was orchestrated from the dugout, from the team meetings at the beginning of the game?
Yeah, that's a really dark place right there. I mean, baseball would be, it's like, I mean, you still got to hit, you still got to pitch, you still got to field. But if you're betting against your own team, that is like the biggest, that's the biggest going against the sanctity of the game. What
would it take if you're the general manager and you're like, hey guys, throttle back today. We got to lose this one. What would you have to do to barely lose a game? Like, how much effort would you have to pull back?
Well, that's a great question, because if it's one guy out of the 9, or one pitcher, like a pitcher would make a huge difference. If you're just like throwing fastballs down the middle instead of throwing off speed pitches,
would it be obvious though if you did that?
It might be. There's so many advanced metrics in baseball right now that and so many cameras all over that it's probably hard to be like, something doesn't seem quite right here.
So I don't know what network. It might be ESPN, the Ocho.
Yeah.
That basically does betting odds about the next pitch that's what the odds are.
Apple TV.
Was it Apple TV?
Apple TV does that. Yeah.
And so like when it hits, you're like, how do they know? Like how do they know the data on what the likelihood that this pitch is going to be a slider or fastball or whatever, and how accurate it is in what the pitcher actually throws?
I mean, it's probably just all probability, and that's really what gambling is, right? It's odds,
100%,
it's percentages. It's this team's favored to win this game by it's minus 180, so you got to put a $180 for them to win, for you to win 100 because they're the favorite. This is just a really, like, this is a dark, this might be the absolute rock bottom for this Cleveland franchise, because 1, you were just in the ALCS last year. 2, the Guardians could have been perceived as a buyer or a seller at the trade deadline. They could have brought in, other guys. There was rumors Clase was one of the hottest names on the market. And now, they could have traded Clase for, I know the Cubs were interested, the Phillies were interested, the Dodgers were interested, and several other teams. But like, if you got several other teams bidding against each other, you could have picked which prospect you wanted to supplement your outfield, or supplement your bullpen, or supplement a new catcher into the system. Now that's all gone. And
it's allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, the trade possibilities are gone because the trade deadline is this week. So you not only lose your closer, you're arguably your second or third best player on your team, you lose the opportunity to trade him for valuable prospects. And to, for a team like the Cleveland Guardians, you need to supplement your outfield with young players on team-friendly deals, because you're not the Dodgers, you're not the Yankees, you're not the Cubs, you're not the Mets, you're not those teams. You can't go out and just buy a free agent and be like, oh, we need a power hitting right fielder, let's just go get the best one on the free agent market. You can't do that.
All right, let me float devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So what if I float these rumors to sabotage the trade deadline so that you can't trade off someone like that?
Well, this is, I mean, if
I know you got sources.
Well, no, I'm just saying this is way more than a rumor, though, because I mean, he is suspended with pay for like a non-disciplinary. I don't know exactly. I can read the team statement, but a non-disciplinary thing. But it's like he is completely off the table for a month. He can't play baseball for a month. The Guardians can't trade him, and he's still making money, but the Guardians lose your closer and you have no potential of bringing back in other players. So I don't know what to do with this. So let me read the team statement here real quick. The Guardians have been notified by Major League Baseball that as a part of their sports betting investigation, Emmanuel Clase has been placed on non-disciplinary paid leave per an agreement with the Players Association. We have been informed that no additional players or club personnel are expected to be impacted. I don't know if I like that because that I feel like there could be. Like, it just doesn't feel like there might just be two. There could be more. The Guardians are not permitted to comment further at this time and will respect the league's confidential investigation process as we continue to fully cooperate.
But okay, if I float a rumor about the Yankees and we're going to a playoffs with the Yankees, will the MLB do an investigation without merit? Like, how sure are they that something
I
happened?
think they would need credible evidence, and obviously they're getting this evidence from some sort of sports books or sports betting, whether it's in Vegas or it's an actual online thing. So
just trying to push back
and trying to be here's what pisses me off too. Major League Baseball and all the professional leagues are in bed with the sports gambling sites. We all know that. Anybody that gambles, it's like, I put it out there. I got an email this morning. Get a month of Major League Baseball TV on us when you place a $5 bet and agree to it for MLB TV. It's like,
now, if you had one of the pitchers on in your text messages, could you send a message and say, "Hey, guy, I put a bet down. Can you help me out here, brother?"
Seriously, I mean,
would you?
No. It's just bad. It's bad practice. And it's obviously someone got caught, and whether they pitch again, I don't know. It's a really bad black eye for the Guardians, and I would not expect. I'm gonna put it out there and say I would not expect either of these guys to ever pitch again in major leagues. Really.
Dang.
Yeah. I think it's that bad, and I think they're gonna try to set a precedent. There has been guys in Major League Baseball. There's been another player that was gambling on either his own team or the team was playing against that was found out. There was a guy in the NBA named Porter that was faking injuries to get his under totals, and people were winning. He was banned from the NBA for life. So it's a really, really bad situation. So
what we warned people about at the very beginning of the sports betting thing was that the outcomes of these sporting events were going to be skewed because there's lots of money riding on the line.
Yeah. And there's a lot of nefarious characters out there. There's not just, there's me who'll bet, 20, 30, 40 bucks on a game or whatever for fun, for entertainment. That's what it should be. Whereas like a lot of these people are, like, no, this is how we make our money, and
right.
This is their living. And that's just bad. It's bad for everybody. Gambling should be a form of entertainment that's fun, that you can make a little bit of money, lose a little bit of money, whatever. And it's a good source of entertainment. It should not be this thing that affects or changes the outcome of games. And I know it's been 100+ years of things like this being altered or changed, but this is the one that first really hits home. And I think people are going to literally write books about this scandal going forward. And hopefully I'm wrong and they're cleared and they can pitch next year, but I don't think
as a fan,
think so.
If you get a sense the depth of like the contrived outcomes of games, do they lose you as a fan?
You know what? Like those two have lost me. I feel bad for a guy like Jose Ramirez who gives full effort, 100%, took less money to stay with Cleveland, is a legit superstar, and now he's playing on a mediocre team who just lost its second best player, and maybe its third or fourth starter in the rotation. And you went from a pretty decent, solid 26-man roster to now, you got to bring up minor leaguers or whoever to take those spots, and they're just not going to be as good. It's you can't tell me, like last night, the Guardians had a chance to close out the game. They put in a new closer last night. They give up 4 runs in the ninth and lose. So it's like, Emmanuel Clase, you can say whatever you want, but that guy was one of the best pitchers that ever has worn a Cleveland uniform. And hopefully he hasn't thrown it all away, because it's it's a bad situation for Cleveland. It's a bad situation for baseball, and it's a horrible situation for Guardians fans. Last night and yesterday afternoon was just a really, and I don't think people are making as big of a deal about it as they should be. I think this is a very, very bad, toxic situation for Cleveland and for baseball. So I don't think it's getting any better. So you want to go with a little good news for the Guardians?
Let's do.
Okay,
Pump
real
me
quick.
back up.
So CC Sabathia and Tom Hamilton went into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame this weekend.
Yes.
So very good news. Tom Hamilton missed the games on Saturday and Sunday, so he could be in Cooperstown, New York, and then had to come back to this shit show yesterday. But I want to real quick. CC Sabathia's numbers as a Cleveland Indian: 106-71 with an ERA of 3.83, 1,265 strikeouts in 237 appearances. And he made his debut in Niles, Ohio, for the Mahoning Valley Scrappers back in the day.
He's a good dude. He really is.
Very good dude. And it's, it's unfortunate. I don't think we have another CC Sabathia in our farm system right now, so to come up. But
we let him go to New York after 3 years anyhow.
Well, they did trade him away, but they did know he wasn't going to sign with Cleveland. They couldn't afford him, and same problem goes on and on, rinse, repeat.
Sorry, this is pump up. We got
it. And then Tom Hamilton, arguably, one of our favorite voices in all of sports, went into the Hall of Fame this weekend, and just congratulations to him. He is literally he makes listening to games fun. If you want to be outside doing something, put the headphones on, and
I used to fall asleep to his voice almost every night during the summer.
And I love how he just calls out. He calls out umpires, he calls out other players, stuff like that too.
But they're color guys and people who describe sports. Baseball is a really tough sport to really give you what's actions happening on the field. Like listening it on the radio versus like seeing a game in person, way different.
Sure.
But Tom had a way that you could almost through your imagination, he would say enough for you to picture what was happening on the field. The dude had a talent like none else.
No doubt. Agreed. And one thing we know is he will be continuing to do games for Cleveland. He will not be suspended in any gambling scandal.
Not gambling.
No,
Tom's not gambling.
How much time you got?
Go for it.
All right. So let's go real quick. Just quick thoughts on Hulk Hogan and what he represented. I was never a big wrestling guy, but everybody freaking knew Hulk Hogan.
I'm telling you, in the late 80s, early 90s, wrestling was everything.
Mm-hmm.
Your heroes were Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Captain Lou, these guys were like.
I remember Rowdy Piper.
Yes,
was that?
Yeah. They would invade pop culture. They would be in movies. They would be in television shows. It was huge. So Hulk was part of my childhood.
Yep.
So his passing was a major thing.
Yeah, and I separate, like Steve was saying earlier, I separate the character from the person. The person obviously had a shit ton of problems, but who doesn't? But he crossed the line on a few things. He came back. I know it was on Raw's on Netflix now. He came back to a chorus of boos because of some of the things he represents and stands for. But I will remember him fondly just from, like you said, childhood memories, right? and things that go beyond wrestling into like pop culture, like the how he even just like the way he would talk, and
I call people brother now, because of him. It was acceptable. Didn't he have a reality show in the early 2000s?
I think he did.
He and his wife. Was it Beth? No, not Beth.
He had a daughter named Brooke.
Okay.
That became a singer. I think he became estranged with his kids too. But yeah, I believe it was some sort of Hulk show.
He was endearing in the show. I was like, that's the one. If you would have gone out at that moment and no longer made a public deal, it would have been perfect for him.
Yeah. And I heard about where how he was dropping like the N-bomb and stuff like that. But basically there was a DJ in Florida that hired him to sleep with his wife, and he recorded it, and that's where all that stuff. But Hulk Hogan, there used to be a tabloid or a online thing called Gawker, and he put him out of business because he sued their ass and was out of there. So that's a story for another day.
His legacy will go out on what we remember as the most endearing part of his personality, not the N-word or all the stuff afterwards.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's switch to a happier topic.
Ooh.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Let's go to Happy Gilmore 2. Before I give my thoughts, let's hear yours.
10 out of 5 stars.
Really?
Yes.
That good?
That good.
Okay. What'd you like best about it?
If when you do a sequel, it's a tough game anyway.
Yes.
Whether or not you pay homage to the original series, whether or not you give the fans what they really like about the original.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they hit all of their marks. The callbacks, the storyline, the not being repetitious, and the joke telling. I think they did it really well.
I agree. Now, I will say the first 45 minutes of the movie, I give an A+. The last hour, I kind of give a B-. I think it could have been a little bit better. I understand what they were trying to do with the plot line. Without giving too many of spoilers away, they're kind of poking fun at Live Golf at the end.
100%.
And even if you look at one of the favorite little Easter eggs they put on his hat that he's wearing towards the end of the movie, it just says regular golfer. And I just thought that was cool. They kept talking about regular golf.
So what about the last portion of the movie that really undid it for you?
It was just a little too
over the top.
Over the top. But I did like a ton of the cameos and stuff like that. But the first 45 minutes, I laughed my ass off. And I think so. This movie came out in 1996, the original. 2025, so 29-year difference, 29-year gap. So I think there was a lot of things that connected the old movie with the new movie, but you got to think a lot of the people that watched that movie as a younger person are now in their late 30s or early 40s or dead. But there's also a whole new generation that's watching this movie that might not know who some of those older callbacks were to, but there's a lot of these older people that are watching this movie that wouldn't know who the hell some of these younger people that are making these appearances.
All right, can I interrogate you on this?
Please.
Okay. Give me your top 5 things in that movie that you were did it right. You nailed it.
So I think Shooter McGavin is an absolutely awesome character in the first movie. And when they have him in, he's in a loony bin, basically, and they just eventually let him out. Somebody, gets him out of there. But I love when they're interrogating him and they're like, what would you do? I'd give him a nod and then he said, what would you do? The one girl asked him, what would you do if, you saw Happy Gilmore on a golf course with a gold jacket? And he's like, I would fill a bag and just beat him to death. And he gets dragged out of the room. But that little fight in the they have in the cemetery with all the callbacks is pretty cool. It's interesting. They buried all those people in the same place. Yeah, the same little place. But that was good. I really liked. I really liked the callbacks because they're doing fan service. But if you were looking for this movie to be an Oscar winner, if you're looking for this movie to be, go down in the annals of being, the best written, best storyline of all time, this movie's not for you.
No. This
movie is fun. It's fan service. It's stupid. It's entertaining. And at the end of the day, that's what it should be. It should be entertaining. And I loved it. I loved the John Daly part.
Okay.
He's a very big, he's
self-deprecating, you would not believe.
Yes. So Shooter,
okay.
John Daly, with his bad math skills and, just to acting like he's completely poor in the movie. I like the fact that Adam Sandler, and we've said this with a lot of his movies, puts a lot of his friends and his family in the movie. So I went and looked up real quick. Let me find it. In this movie, here's just his family members that are in the movie. Jackie Sandler, who's his wife. She plays the dance instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Sadie is his daughter that plays Charlotte. She's an FBI asset disguised. Sunny is the daughter that's the dancer. Then you have Judy, his real life mother, plays the tall guy, his mom. You have Jana, who's his cousin that makes a cameo on Jeopardy. And you have Chris, who's his brother-in-law that plays the repo man that he beats the hell out of. You had Lila, who's his mother-in-law, who plays a character in the movie. So just that is just his family members, I think, is really cool. And then obviously his friends. He's got Rob Schneider's kids in this movie. He's got Ben Stiller's kids in this movie. That's where I'll go with my third one, Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller's character cracks me up in the first movie, and they drew it out in the second movie, and he kind of get, and you get a fun ending too. It's like it's like the ending he deserves for that character deserves.
Yep. Steve Buscemi, obviously.
Steve Buscemi is so great.
The mailbox. The freaking mailbox.
Yes.
Favorite part.
And him and John Daly are going back and forth. I loved oh man, there's so many ways. Okay, so BJ and I have talked about how boring Scotty Scheffler is. I think this movie did Scotty Scheffler a major favor.
Heck yeah.
Because he has a big role in this movie. He's got a ton of lines, and the part where he like goes to jail, BJ's coming in. The part where he goes to jail and he's like, and this is a post-credit scene. They're like, you want to make your phone call? He's like, what's for dinner? Chicken fingers. I'll stick around another night. I thought that was great. So I think Scotty Scheffler did a great job, calling back the old like fight scene too. So that was another good one. And then like just all the random people, because I had to pause it. I'm like, who is that girl? I know that girl that's at the starting when he's on that like, just that municipal golf course where he's going out to play with that group. That was one of my favorite whole scenes in the movie when he's just like trying to figure out, but then he gets drunk and wrecks the golf cart. But the starter is Kelsey Plum, who's a WNBA. She's one of the better WNBA players. But there's just a lot of parts in there where I'm like, I know that person, but how do I know that person? So that would be like another list. So BJ, you came up from the back. You got to tell us.
There's something on your mind.
There's something on his mind.
So you guys were talking about Hulk Hogan a little bit ago. So Hulk Hogan made a transition into movies and it was in a bunch of stuff. But so the guy that played Adam Sandler's oldest son in the movie is a wrestler. His name's Maxwell Jacob Friedman, or he goes by MJF in the wrestling world.
Okay.
Keep an eye out for that guy because he's going to be huge.
Huge
star. He is so good and so believable as a wrestler, and he played like sometimes when they stick people in into acting roles, whatever, and it's like, or athletes or whatever, like it seems like it's weird.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Or they come up awkward. Like he was so good. He was one of I thought he gave one of the best performances in the entire movie. Yeah. Just his part. But I just wanted to say that, but keep an eye on him.
Okay.
Because he's gonna be he's already a pretty big star in the wrestling world. I think eventually he might make the flip over to WWE because he's with AEW. He's getting paid a ton of money to stay in AEW right now.
Okay.
Their competition right now. I think eventually you're going to see him in WWE, and I think you're going to see him branch out in a lot more movies and stuff too.
Okay.
But he's going to be a huge star.
And there was a lot more wrestlers in this movie than because I know your wrestling very well. I'm like I know the main people. That's about it. But like and some of these guys might even be main. But like Rebecca Quinn. She was in this.
That's Becky Lynch. Yeah. So she was one of the golfers on the opposing team. Yeah.
Nikki Bella. She won too. And then there was a few other. I think the guy that plays the Screech character with the chainsaw is he a golfer or a wrestler too?
Let me think about
I would have to think of his name.
And then Taylor Swift's
Sean Avery. Could it be Sean Avery?
Taylor Swift's boyfriend was in there, whatever his name is. I forget it. Taylor Swift guy.
That was a great scene too. Like I don't listen to Bad Bunny that much. Like
favorite character. Bad Bunny was the best character in that movie.
But like him with Travis Kelce, while all the that's another great scene too because like Xander Schauffele shows off his personality. All the that's what she said stuff that doesn't hit, and then finally at the end they get I got a knife in my ass or a fork in my ass. Oh, that's what she said, and everybody loses it. But Jackson this. Basically, like Vern, when we had him on the show earlier, he said basically every golfer is in this movie outside of Tiger Woods, but Tiger Woods gets mentioned several times, like the old video game, his, the bust in the Champions Hall. They were like, outside of me and, Shooter calls himself the best golfer of the 90s, and Happy's like, well, outside of me and Tiger, yeah, you're on that list.
So answer me this.
Yeah.
So next to Vern in one of the commentary seats, the guy with the cowboy hat on that was kind of over the top.
Post Malone.
Was it Post Malone for real, or was someone trying to be Post Malone?
No, that was Post Malone.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's where I go back to, like, I knew right away because when we had him on, he's like, yeah, me and Post Malone were like hanging out on the set a whole lot. So I thought that was pretty neat. So yeah.
John Daly fighting with Steve Buscemi on the credits was hilarious.
Yes.
Like John Daly was so good in this movie, like just living in the garage.
Yes.
Like, that's awesome. And you expect he's drinking at the hand sanitizer bottle.
All right. So question.
Yeah.
How many different flasks did Happy Gilmore have in this?
Oh, that's a
God, at least
good trivia question.
Do you know the answer?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to count how many different improvisational flasks he had, and it's up there.
It's got to be around 10, wouldn't it be?
I think it's a lot more than that.
Maybe
because
more,
on the golf course alone, or like how about the cucumber one at the grocery store, and then the daughter's walking around. She's like, oh, not grandma's cuckoo clock. And by the way, when he steals the liquor at the beginning of the movie, the girl that is on the counter, that's Ben Stiller's daughter too. So everyone has a part. So I don't know. I don't. It's a lot. I someone out there, a TikTok person or someone on Instagram has that count. But by my count and off of I can't give them credit because I didn't write down their name. They said there were 74 cameos in this movie.
Holy shit!
So.
Damn.
So just music stars alone: Bad Bunny, Post Malone, Eminem was the jackass, the son, Cameron, which I don't really know Cameron, but then Kid Cudi, who's from Cleveland, a rapper, whose car mysteriously got blown up by Diddy, allegedly.
Allegedly.
But he is the FBI guy at the end. He's one of the FBI guys at the end. So, but yeah, like you said, Travis Kelce did a good job. And I think just people with natural confidence that are good at whatever they do, whether it's music, whether it's sports, they just go into acting. They might not be a good actor, but they go in confident, and that portrays on the film.
The older golfers are the most awkward characters in that stinking movie.
Yeah,
though.
They are.
I love though that Lee Trevino was still in there, because he's the one that just kept shaking his head in the first movie.
But that's his shtick right there.
It
He
is.
has to shake his head at like what absurdity is in front of me right now.
And then I don't know. I didn't know if that was a thing with Freddie Couples, if he's a big dessert guy because they kept feeding him.
That was funny but awkward. Yeah, there's always Lee Trevino is the only one that kind of gets away with that because from before. But yeah, he has some personality. Yeah, the other ones is like, ooh, these guys are not good.
I did think I liked at the end though how when they finally close out the final scene, how like all the old guys are just sleeping on the couch because they're just done. But I thought Jack did a hell of a job in this. I thought he did a really good job with his part. So. I don't know. I overall, I'd give it a solid B+, because it's not gonna be an Academy Award winning, but it's a movie I would go back and rewatch. And to me, if I'm gonna rewatch it, that's worth it.
I'd say the same. And for people ripping on it, I said this in a podcast the other day. Like, I mean, what did you expect? Like Citizen Kane? Like, what do you? Like,
right.
Like, it's just totally stupid. It's supposed to be stupid. The point of it was supposed to be completely dumb and ridiculous, which it was, and it was just fun. So yeah. I liked it a lot.
And I was even talking with somebody else, and they were like, well, do they have to do all the throwbacks? We know what that is. But I thought those were important for the younger audience that's watching this. So they're trying to pull in several different. They're
20 plus years between movies, and you got to do that. You really got to fill in the gaps.
Exactly. And like I said, they brought in all these young stars that like the new younger generation is watching. All the wrestlers, all the podcasters, all these people in music, versus like they might not know who Jack Nicklaus is. They might not know who Lee Trevino is. They might not even, know who some of the who Eminem is, you know. So
So
I just
BJ,
thought that was cool.
if Live Golf created golf courses like they did in that movie, where you had the tabletop and you had the ice thing, would you watch?
No, no. What's funny too, it was kind of a rip on Live Golf, but a lot of the golfers were live golfers. They had Bryson and Brooks in it.
I was
like, I wonder what Liv thinks of them being in this movie, because it's kind of an indirect shot at Liv, but the Liv golfers are playing on the regular golfer team. Like, so yeah, it was
two of their big names, two of their biggest names.
Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka were in there.
And they're like 4 of the final 5 with Happy in the thing. And then
Saudi Arabians do not understand American humor. They don't even get they're being ripped on.
To compliment Scotty Scheffler, I did think Rory did not do a very I just thought he came across as a little bland. He was maybe it's that accent. I don't know.
A couple of real quick things. Julie Bowen still looks tremendous, by the way. And her part in
Smoke show.
So they killed her off. I don't think they were going to do that in the original script, but then when Carl Weathers died, I think Carl Weathers was going to be all the flashbacks because he died in the first one, obviously. So he was going to be the guy one kind of advising him, and I think they wrote her into that role because they didn't have Carl Weathers anymore, unfortunately, which I would have loved to see it with Carl Weathers, with Chubbs there. I wish you'd lived to see this, but they still did pretty well with it. Yeah,
and Julie Bowen, to BJ's point, she has aged like fine wine. She looks better now, arguably, than then. And we're talking 30 years. She's got to be in her 50s. She looks great.
Really good.
And one thing I wish they would have changed, if they could have got Tiger somehow for this movie, I wish they would have made Tiger Woods the son.
They might have done that. And I don't know why Tiger said no. Like, I have no idea. It's probably something connected to a sponsor or something like that. He doesn't want to do whatever, so he's just playing it real safe, whatever. But like Tiger Woods, if you actually get him off of the course, or you get him, like, he's self-deprecating, and he referenced the South Park episode where they spoofed him. I don't know if you saw that. Where and he's laughing about it. So it's like, I know it had to have just been a sponsored thing where he was like, this might be uneasy for people, whatever. If I do this, but he should have played Chubb's son.
Well, if you ever there was a guy that wore a T-shirt and it was Tiger's mugshot on the course. Tiger walked right by him and was cracking up. It's like, so he has a sense of humor
for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, he's banging Denny's waitresses. I think he's got to have some kind of sense of, allegedly some kind of sense of humor.
Allegedly. Any last thoughts on this movie before?
I'll tell you, my favorite part was the very end where you look like my dad. Like, that hit with me.
That was
cool. Cute.
Yeah.
That really was. Yeah. And I know it didn't add to the movie at all, but just watching Adam with all of his friends and his family and part of a project like that hit it with me.
I have that goofy type humor that Adam Sandler has, and now that I have kids of my own, it's kind of cool to joke around with them, kind of like he does on the set and stuff like that. But I really thought, like you said, I thought that was really cool to have his kids in there.
One other thing, so Adam Sandler was a guest. So Bryson DeChambeau does a YouTube show, which is really good, where he tries to break 50 in a 2-man scramble. Like, they tee off from like the ladies' tees or whatever, but they'll go on like a municipal course, whatever, and try to break 50. Well, the latest episode's with Adam Sandler, and it's really funny. Like, those two trying to break 50, and and he interviews him. He asks him a lot about the movie and acting, whatever. They ask each other questions and stuff, and then they rip on each other all the time. It's really good.
So BJ, I have to know, like, does he hit the ball from 3 steps back and take an approach on it like he does in the movie?
He doesn't. So he does hit a couple like that in the when they're actually playing, just to try and do it. But that's not a really
doesn't go well.
It's not really effective way to hit the golf ball, whatever. So he just kind of hits it normal. He's not a terrible Adam Sandler. He's not a terrible golfer.
Yeah,
he hits the ball pretty decent. So yeah.
I mean, you gotta live that character life, I guess. 2 other things I do want to say. I left off my part I laughed at the hardest in the movie is Will Zalatoris. Will Zalatoris is not the caddy from the original movie, but he looks so much like him that people started talking about it like 10, 15 years. Well, whenever he came up, probably about 10 years ago on the PGA golf scene. And like his part, he plays it so well because he's like, asshole, he's like, he takes it to heart. And even in the locker room, he's like peeking over, and Happy's like, oh, you're going to caddy for me? And he's like, I don't do that anymore. So I thought that was great. And one more thing. Do you know who the guy he was going against, kind of the shorter, chubbier guy that could hit the ball 600 yards.
Osmond,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I see dead people.
Yes,
yeah, he's the little kid from The Sixth Sense.
Man, he got Porky.
Yeah, he did. He did. Well, it's because he got that.
So who? Every movie has to have its proper villain.
Yes.
Who was the villain? You have to name one. There's not like many villains.
Yeah.
Who was the main villain in Happy Gilmore 2?
It was the dude that started the league.
The dude that started the
guy that started the rival golf league.
Guy.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I haven't seen the movie Uncut Gems yet, but apparently he's co-stars with Adam Sandler in that, and that's how their relationship is. So I have not seen that movie yet, but that's apparently where, how they know each other. But yeah, I would say probably him. They made the shooter character awesome. I would say probably I'm gonna agree with that. I'm going to say that.
All right. Have you looked into thoracic lumbar surgery where you cut a certain ligament in your back for an extended swing?
If there was some sort of weird surgery that, like, if that was actually like a real thing, like there'd be several people doing it and they'd have to get tested for it on the PGA Tour or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
No dice.
No weird surgeries. Just equipment that works way too well for as good as these guys are. So yeah.
And even and the other. I mean, I could literally do a full minute on each one of these cameos, but Rob Schneider, when he goes to his happy place, he's sitting on the toilet on his phone, and then like Rob Schneider, you can do it on the thing, like so good. So like all of this shit, it's, I don't know how people can not like this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
B+, yeah. A+.
Yeah. It's a winner. It's an absolute winner. Is it the best movie he's ever made? No, the original's better, but Billy Madison's better. But like, to me, it's still like, it's right up there.
Very good.
He's made some bad ones too. We all know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like the one little Nicky and like
what's the one where he was the brother and the sister?
Oh, that one.
That was terrible.
It's so bad I don't remember the name. Like the one where he's got the Boston accent the whole movie and Vanilla Ice is in it and stuff like that. With Andy Samberg. That one's pretty bad. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, if you make that many movies, there's going to be some bad ones, but this was a winner.
I had a friend so they were supposed to do a song for an Adam Sandler soundtrack, one of the movies way back, whatever. Yeah. And so this came out of his boat, the manager called him up and is like, hey, we need you to cut this cover song for this Adam Sandler. He's like, oh, is Adam? He's like, oh, what's the movie about? He's like, it's an Adam Sandler movie. It's about 90 minutes.
And I mean, I cannot think, how like certain songs resonate with certain movies or certain times of your life. Like anytime I hear that Tuesday's Gone song, it's Leonard Skinner, right? Like anytime I hear that, it's immediately, I go to Happy Gilmore. Yeah. It's like immediately that puts that thought in my head. So such a good song, such a good movie. So I'm glad we all kind of agree on it because, it had its peaks and its valleys, but for the most part, it's a solid movie. So I'm glad we could end on a happy note since my freaking Cleveland teams are falling apart. We can't decide on quarterbacks. Guys can't stop betting on games and ruining the team. And then the Cavs get eliminated in the second round after being one of the best teams in the East. At least I have Ohio State football. Thanks to Steve Helwagen for coming on. Any last thoughts before we close out?
I'm good.
I have so much other stuff to talk about, but we've gone longer than I anticipated. We'll save that for later in the week or next week. So for Joe Danier, for BJ Lisco, I'm Justin Coffin. Thanks again to Steve Helwagen for coming on. If you haven't seen Happy Gilmore 2, go watch it. And make sure to subscribe to Youngstown Studio. And check out all the great podcasts and stuff we do down here. All right, everybody have a great day. We will see you later.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.